Hello everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul and my very good friend Adrienne Gibson from EA Astrologer, and we are going to talk about the new moon in Scorpio, which is taking place tomorrow. We are recording this on Sunday. You're probably watching this on Monday, but this is the topic of conversation. Welcome,
Yeah.
Adrienne. Nice to have you back.
Well, thank you. Good to be back.
How
Good
you
to be
been?
back. I was sick last week. It slowed me down for a few days, got some rest, and now I'm better. Back at it.
It's all this Scorpionic energy, all this introspection, making us to slow down and investigate.
I know it. I know it. And I'm not usually one to slow down that much. And so I feel like the universe laid me down for a little while.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of people are experiencing this unexpected slowing down in order to have to deal with whatever is coming up for them.
Yep. Yep. Which was good. At one point I thought I was going to die, but that didn't happen.
No. You're gonna outlive us all. You are a strong Capricorn.
You're right.
Cool. Shall we dive into the chart?
Yes, let's pull it up.
Let's see what the astrology want us to see.
Yes. So there you go. You can see it. And it's at 4:26 a.m. Eastern time, Eastern Tennessee, or Eastern United States.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
me,
sure where it is for you.
just 1 hour less. I'm only one hour behind you. I'm tagging along now that I changed my time zones.
Okay.
So yeah, so people just have to change it to wherever they are in the world, add the hours, deduct the hours, but this is what it is on November 13th.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all very interesting. What were your impressions after sitting with this chart?
Well, obviously the thing that is coming up straight away is the opposition with Uranus, and interestingly today, today as we speak, we just had it yesterday on the 11/11. We had the Mars Uranus opposition, and then tomorrow, just after the actual new moon, we have the exact Sun Uranus opposition.
Yes.
So there is a lot of activation to Uranus, and of course the lunation is trine by Neptune, and there is not exact sextile yet because the orb is quite wide, but Pluto is the ruler of the new moon, so all the big players are involved.
Yes. Yeah. They certainly are. The big stellium down there in Scorpio and Mercury and Sagittarius are just very telling. I've been watching it.
Yeah, and with this Sagittarius, Mercury, obviously Mercury traditionally it's in detriment in Sagittarius. However, that's not how we look at it from the evolutionary perspective because we don't polarize the planets. However, Mercury in Sagittarius, of course, is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is still retrograde in Taurus. And I feel that this is just adding up the layer onto that story that we were talking about last time, the history, his story that is not even yours. So I feel with all this explosive energy that is activated through this Uranus and its opposition, which is the point of integration, like a full moon, illumination of something, in this case, our psychological outdated patterns that are making us feel disempowered and stuck because of the, Pluto as the ruler still being in a Capricorn, which is the old conditioning. And I really feel that with this Sagittarius Mercury, we have the opportunity to see it from different perspective. What is this deeper learning in this situation?
Yes, to definitely expand the perspective that we all have in our worlds. It's, the opportunity to allow that to see outside of our narrow perspective, which gives us the opportunity to change the way we see things.
Absolutely.
And I think that, it's in its new phase to the stellium in Scorpio. So it's a clue, this stellium in Scorpio is expanding our narrow point of view.
Yeah, and the last time we had the last lunation, which of course was the last eclipse in Taurus, everything was behind. But now everything is in front until, of course, Sun and Mars will have a conjunction next week. And then
Yep.
Sun will get behind, Mars will get behind. And Mars, of course, is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, but it's also the ruler of the North Node, which is very important to pay attention to, because it's all about where we head in, which is this brand new cycle in our evolutionary trajectory. And that's why all these things are coming up. They're all coming up because they don't have a place in where we head in as a collective consciousness, and also individually as our individual unique expression of the source. Where we head in this stuff of the past, we need to transmute it before we go there, because we cannot take it with us anymore. With this Pluto square to the nodes, there is no there is no hiding, because when Pluto is the skip step, it's like there is no hiding anymore.
No. So, what else? Venus, I know, moved into Libra here this week. So that's new. I feel like that is pointing out how we relate to ourselves and to other people, what our relationships are like with other people. And I think that because this lunation and Mars are in Scorpio, we're having to dig deep, under the surface of things, into where, perhaps they're affecting our relationships. In Scorpio, it's about merging with other people. And so, there may be some things that create tension in our relationships that we're just not aware of. And I think that this lunation is really giving us the energy to push and look deep inside. So like I said, I was sick this last week, where, I was literally in the bed for 3 days, which I didn't have much to do but think and try to breathe.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's about uncovering and looking at what kinds of limitations, where we are emotionally stunted, to be able to see those things, bring them to the surface, and to begin working on them. And I think that as soon as we can do that, we will make changes to ourselves, and by default, our relationships will change.
Yeah, and I really feel that it's very interesting how, this almost exact sextile between Venus and Mercury that is present in a chart. And Venus, of course, is in her rulership, in her second rulership, but actually Mercury, being ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter is ruled by Venus. So everything goes back to Venus.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Everything goes back to Venus. And I've been talking about this in my videos, how Venus is the one closing the queue. She's tugging behind everyone, everything that all the personal planets and luminaries already touched. She's tugging behind and redoing everything, because Venus being the ruler of the resolution node, and actually we still having the Yod pointing to the south node from
Yes, we are.
Uranus. And Venus is the ruler, and she's in a closing phase to the south node. She's actually going to have a conjunction with the south node at the end of the month, right after the full moon in Gemini. And that will be ruled by Mercury again. And what is Gemini? Is the choice, is this opportunity to see things from a new perspective, which at the moment, with the Mercury being in Sagittarius, is inviting us to redefine this perspective, this lens we use to observe the reality we are experiencing at the moment. Because just as I've been saying many times, and I know you've been saying it, and our teacher keeps saying it all the time, if we keep making the same choice under old circumstances, we can't really expect different outcome, can we?
No, for things to change. And so I think a lot of these things that are needing to change are related to this Pluto squared the nodes, which is really looking at where we have put the control outside of ourselves. And we're having to resolve that. South node is the resolution node. What is it that we have that's like hidden deep within us, fears likely for you know, not treating ourselves balanced within our relationships. You know, it's one way or the other. Either we're taking too much control and the other person suffers, or the other person takes too much control and we suffer. Somewhere along the way, people aren't getting their needs met. It's not balanced. We're experiencing the extremes. And it's happening in the collective as well. But then I think as Mercury crosses that south node, we'll begin something new. You know, a new way of relating to ourselves and to other people. And I think that this lunation is part of that, is to help us to really dig below the surface and uncover what is, you know, it's Uranus and Taurus in some respects is like those things that are hidden, and Uranus wants to break that up, you know, uncover it. And so we're integrating that with this lunation, and Venus rules Uranus right now. So
yeah, and that's what the visual that comes to me, and also what we discussed prior to recording. I feel like it's like this dynamite that is being set up, like, you know, by Uranus at the moment, especially in opposition with Mars. Like,
yes,
you know, these two explosive energies, and Mars in Scorpio being very intense. It's very strong Mars, and there is all this still this intensity present in our environment at the moment. Venus being in a Libra, I feel it's coming from this interaction with other people that are showing us the mirror. That are showing us the mirror, whether this is a person in your life, or whether this is the collective behavior that is just again mirroring back to us these dysfunctional patterns that became outdated, which we are needing to transmute. But it's exactly like what you said, you know, like, what are we hiding away from? Because we created this monster that we are afraid of, to look at. It's just like this Frankenstein, right? They create this monster and then they like, oh, it's too much to deal with, let me run away from it. So it is, if we look at it from the microcosm perspective, it is too big and people get overwhelmed. We are continuously being bombarded by all sorts of stuff that is coming left, right, and center through social media, mainstream media. Like, all this information is rampage at the moment. But the thing is, and also, I don't know why I'm tapping into when the nodes were in Sagittarius, Gemini. I think it's because the Mercury is obviously in Sagittarius, just the same way as, you know, 3 years ago when we had this situation, 2020, 2021, people were overstimulated by all this information coming from all sorts of perspective, where people became so overwhelmed where they shut down. They literally shut down because the nervous system was overstimulated to the point where people felt it's too big to deal with. We need to shut down. It's again this traumatic response. We just have to detach. We need to shut down. But I feel now things are coming around. They look differently, but it's the same thing, right? The same emotions are coming up. The same trauma is being re-triggered. And this Uranus, because now obviously the main players changed position slightly, I really feel with this Uranus being in opposition, it's saying that, well, you know, now Venus as the ruler is in Libra. There are all these things being mirrored to us, because Libra always represents the mirror, that are actually helping us to see what is this South Node about. Like, what is that thing? And actually, by this Neptune being the one trining this new lunation, because the new moon, so there is a lot of darkness. We can't see really what is all this about. But with this Neptune trining it, and again, we could just go jumping from planet to planet, how everybody is, you know, connected, with the Pluto ruling it, Saturn ruling Pluto, Neptune ruling, everything is connected. We just can go jumping from one planet to another and see how everything is supporting one another. But the baseline of everything is just like, literally, we go to the point in human evolution right now. We are experiencing the Saturn in Pisces, where everything that was before that make us feel safe and secure is now dissolving. So with this South Node activation from, you know, this in conjunction and the Yod from Uranus and Neptune, it's saying that these things are coming to the surface to help us to see that this is not something which we can just bypass and detach from and ignore, because we cannot deal with it. And that's why we have to start from oneself, because this is something that you can manage. If we think about, oh, the world is such a mess and everything is coming, you know, to the end of it, then everybody would feel overwhelmed. But that's what happened last time. So now, because things are coming around again, we have the opportunity to take a different approach, which is like, okay, I cannot change the world, but I can change something within my little microcosm, and the way I'm, for example, responding to you, because everything is relational, right? So this is what I feel, that these planets are trying to help us to understand, which in no way is experienced as something easy and walking through the rose garden. But whoever said
No.
that awakening and ascension was easy? I mean, I don't know who said that. Did anybody say that?
I'm sure somebody.
Because people imagine like, oh yeah, awakening is like sitting in a yoga pose and just suddenly having this illumination, feeling, and like, oh, I'm enlightened now. That's not how it happens. That's not
No,
how it
no,
happens.
no, no, no. We have to dig through the dirt first,
Exactly.
get into the soil and figure out what our issues are and start to work on them. We're not going to be able to move forward. Okay, we're not going to be able to go through the doorway of the future carrying all that baggage.
Well, I feel like we are in a tunnel and we want to get to the light, but we don't want to go through the tunnel. So how else are you gonna get there? There is no hidey hole.
No, there's no hidey holes. There's no little escape hatch.
Exactly.
We've got to go through it. And I think ultimately, humanity is, the intent is for humanity to evolve. And we've been evolving through this particular container. We've been in the Pisces age for 2,000 years, where, everything has sort of become homogenized, the same, everybody is the same, this oneness idea, but the same beliefs, the same clothes, we all shop at the same stores, we're all expected to have the same perspective, and I know we're separated off by all these different cultures, but it's the same in all of the cultures. And when we put ourselves outside like that, we are the control of our lives outside of ourselves. What happens is we have to submerge and bury parts of ourselves that don't fit in.
Exactly.
And when we do that, over long periods of time, we become ill. So many people are on antidepressants and all of these things. There's dysregulation in the population because we're square pegs trying to fit in this round hole, and it's not going to work anymore. I mean, it was of benefit for a while. We did go through this evolution in this container, but now we're getting ready to move into a different, the walls of this container are dissolving. But as we put the control of our lives outside of ourselves, what happens is we don't develop emotionally. We don't develop this inner strength and resilience to be able to control our own selves. We've not had to do it. And I think that this is what Pluto and the nodes are looking to. We're needing to, not put things outside of ourselves, but literally become ourselves and take a new journey forward to begin to grow. And so as we move into this Aquarian age, we're going to have to be able to vibrate as individuals. We have to become our individual selves, where we've cut parts of ourselves off so that we can fit in the round hole. And it's causing discomfort. And I think that this is what this lunation and Mars are looking to dig up. Where are we uncomfortable? Where do we have fears? Where are we having issues that have been submerged so long we've even forgotten them? They just put a pervasive uncomfortability going on inside of ourselves. And life goes on, and so we continue living the life because we still have to eat and do all these things, and we don't look at these issues. And I think that this lunation is helping us. It's like a new cycle in really beginning to dig deep and figure out what our issues are and why they're there, and bring them to the surface, and then we can act on them. We can begin to, make the shifts and the changes, literally head toward that north node. And when we move into the Aquarian age, Pluto moving into Aquarius isn't that long. We have, just over a year. We're going to need to have our own containers, because when we're coming into a place that is outside of what we've done, and we haven't, developed the resiliency, and also our, experienced our true selves, like the parts of us that we're told were bad, that we've, smushed away. They may be bad only in the culture, but may be beneficial to, the individual. It's hard to know. But I think that that's part of what the Aquarian age will be about, is beginning to come together as groups, because Aquarius rules groups, and, break out of this mold and begin to find our true selves and come together in these smaller groups based on our own vibrations and our own, ideas and things where we resonate with other people. And so I really feel like this lunation is just setting us up. And I've been talking about this for a little while. It's just like every time the moon comes up, it's just another aspect of that we're having to deal with. And it's like, while the backdrop doesn't move very much, it's all the other planets are moving around it to make those changes, help us to make those changes.
And that's why I always say that, like, sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating myself in every single video, because I really feel there is this main baseline, this core essence of what's going on, and then we just looking at it from a million different angles to help us to see it from every single possible angle, to help us understand all this multiplicity and multidimensionality of that experience, so everybody's perspective gets covered. So that's literally what's going on. But what really what I wanted to mention, and just piggyback on what you were talking about, with this, especially with this Uranus in Taurus, because like what you were saying, that predominantly a lot of us had to suppress an aspects of ourselves, because obviously the environment wherever we were growing up, whether it was cultural, religious, whatever, conditioning, it said that certain aspect of yourself was not acceptable, that it was wrong. And just like you said, actually, maybe if you were born in a, I don't know, imagine I'm from Eastern Europe, so you are expected to be quiet and be good and be whatever. Well, if I was born here in Latin America, then if I'm a quiet child, they think I'm sick, right? Because, like, it's a completely different approach to how people are expected to behave. And what I really wanted to say with all of this is that if we have a need that gets suppressed for an extended period of time, that need becomes distorted, which is why we see what's happening in the world that is happening, and why even people get triggered, because behind all this, Scorpio looks at Taurus and Taurus looks at Scorpio. They are in opposition, they come as a pair. So this is what happens. We have a need. There is a certain need. You being born with your unique blueprint. Yes, we all came from the source. We will all come back from the source. But source doesn't need 8 million people, 8 billion people to be copy paste. Then he wouldn't need to send 8 billion soul out there to be copy paste, because we are all a unique expression of the source. And that's, this Leo, this essence of you, your sun, is what makes you special, what makes you unique. And yes, just like our teacher would say, we are all uniquely ordinary, right? We're all special, but we're ordinary at the same time. But that which makes you who you are is unique to you, and it's your special blueprint. But if you are brought, most of us were, unfortunately, born into the environment where this uniqueness in many cases was suppressed, because it's threatening. It's threatening to the status quo. That we created, we collectively agreed to certain Saturn, to certain definition of reality of the right and wrong, where we decide, okay, this is acceptable. So everything else that is outside of that norm is considered alien. There's the Aquarius, but if there is no Aquarius, that eventually we just start going backwards, because we need to evolve. So all this individual souls, aka you, me, and everyone else, being uniquely themselves, we have all these unique needs and expressions of who we are that makes us who we are. But then when that is suppressed for an extended period of time, yes, we become depressed, yes, we become suicidal, or people become sick, because most of the time the actual physical ailment, disease, is a final manifestation of an emotional or spiritual or whatever suppression. It never starts from the body. Body is the last manifestation. So
Yes.
all this stuff that's happening right now, especially because most of it is, of course, still involving Scorpio and Taurus, because of all these needs that were not being met, and this is happening in individual and collective reality, all these people, aka this person next to you, or this, you know, a representation of a collective, whether it's a country or whatever, these are just showing you what is that need that hasn't gone met for a very long period of time, and that's what triggers us. So it's not something that is being not allowed for you to have right now. It's something that for a long time you weren't allowed to give to yourself, because you have to suppress it, because you had to reject that aspect of yourself which was being classed as unacceptable because of the
Yes.
environment. And this is why this Uranus in opposition with Mars, in opposition with Sun, in opposition with the lunation, this is what this Uranus is breaking us, cracking us open, because all these things that are happening and that are triggering are just showing us what is the need that hasn't been met to all these people, all these 8 billion people. There is a need that hasn't been met, because collectively through Saturn and the rigidity of that evolutionary pathway, which now become obsolete because Saturn is in Pisces, is the totality of the cycle is ending. Neptune is in Pisces, Saturn is in Pisces, ending, no longer holds a meaning. So that's why in order for us to heal it and end that cycle, that Pisces age, the age of us feeling inferior, not good enough, and something wrong with us because we're not perfect, even though there is no such a thing as perfection in physical incarnation, that is for the spirit world, obviously. This is why these things are happening, and they all come into the surface, and they are heavy and overwhelming, because this is something, exactly as you said, in order for us to enter the age of Aquarius, which is about equality, that's why it's the two parallel lines, we need to know who we are. And in order for us to know who we are, we need to be cracked open to find out what we are not, what is the conditioning. And then we have the opportunity to see that it fulfilled its purpose and lost the meaning, and now it's no longer protecting us. So it's literally on a collective level, we literally are like, I continuously see the judgment card, you know, like literally how there is this huge clearing of the deck happening, where people are literally just being stripped out of their skin, you know, like we cracking open these facades and layers of conditioning that's gone over multiple generations, multiple ancestor lines, multiple incarnations, and that's all being stripped off at the moment. And it's not an easy process.
Yes. And, you know, Taurus can be resistance. There are people that are resistant. People are attached to the way things were. People don't really want to change. They're doing everything they can to keep things the same, in fact. And, you know, Uranus and Taurus isn't going to allow that. You know, this is the shocking acceleration. The universe is moving us out of that comfortable place. You know, like a parent, you can't stay here. We have to move forward. And I think that it can be difficult for a lot of people that are, you know, unwilling to let go. And, you know, I always think about, just, you know, whatever it is, you know, the wealthy people of the world, they're comfortable in all of their things, and they're not willing to let go, you know. They don't want to let go of their 9 houses. And but this energy of protection that all of this extra money affords people is, first of all, it leads to incredible unbalance amongst the population. And I think that's a lot that has to do with the nodes. It's our world is very unbalanced. The way we live is unbalanced. It's unbalanced with the earth, it's unbalanced with each other, and we're having to come along, determine what it is that we truly need. And I think the universe might be leveling the playing field.
For sure, for sure. And I really feel that this will be especially obvious once they go into Virgo and Pisces.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's the fire and the air, which is more about the, you know, the anger and the thought process and all this information and stuff, but then it will go to water and earth, which is very receptive energy. So I don't know, I just feel that that's the time when it's really we will see a huge shift. And especially, you know, because by that point Pluto will be in Aquarius for good. You know, I mean, it's not going to go back into Capricorn
No.
from November next year. So by the time the nodes will shift in January 2025, that's it for Pluto. Pluto is staying in Aquarius, and then it's just like full stream ahead. But the other thing that I wanted to mention, which I forgot, is this. Well, I mean, obviously there is a reason why these people don't want change. You know, these people with, you know, the top 5% or 2% of population, or however many it is. We understand that that's the role that they've played, and they played it well, and they are assisting the awakening of the masses. However, their role is coming to the end, and they're not just gonna pass it on like, here you go, you know. But the other aspect of why people don't want the change is exactly what you tapped into previously, which is we were not being brought up properly. We were not being brought up in a way to be emotionally self-sufficient, self-reliant, because with this Cancer Capricorn opposition, again, they come as a pair. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot feel like you are the master of your life, you are the Capricorn, you are the creator, you are in charge, if there is no emotional sense of safety and security, and that come from your own inner nurturing, because Cancer is your home for the spirit. It's your soul is housed in your body, and a lot of people don't feel safe in themselves. They don't feel safe in their body because, again, a lot of religious, cultural conditioning made us feel unsafe, made us feel ashamed, and all these kind of things. But also because of how this trauma has been passed on from generation to generation, again, ancestral trauma, collective trauma, you know, this Cancer archetype again. We like most of us don't really feel safe. We were being brought up by parents and grandparents who didn't feel safe. So now somebody saying, hey, take charge of your life and be a grown up, for a lot of people is difficult, because we were always being conditioned to look up to the expert, to go and look up to someone who knows better. But who knows better than you? Nobody knows you better than you. And that's why Cancer Capricorn, in order to become a Capricorn, you need to integrate your Cancer and vice versa. So a lot of people do have the maybe material sense of safety and security, but they will never feel safe and secure, which is actually why this 1% of population has so much, because they don't really feel safe and secure inside of them. Because why else would they need all this excess of the material stuff? And that's where the imbalance comes from. And because of this note being in Libra and Aries, this is the beginning of the, you know, with the Aries, North Node in Aries, the beginning of a new cycle where the way that we relate and the way that we are as people has to come to a balance. But in order to get there, we need to experience extreme, because as we know, Libra is not born balanced. It becomes balanced through extremes. And that's why all these things are manifesting in our conscious experience to show us where the imbalance lies and where it originates from.
Yes. And the shift from the South Node to the North Node as well. And Chiron sitting right next to the North Node is like pointing the way. Yes, it's uncomfortable to make this journey forward, but we will learn to evolve toward a sense of emotional security as we take these steps forward. Not right away. It's going to be very uncomfortable. Aries is an uncomfortable place to be, stepping out into something new. But with repeated experience over time, we will begin to find some sense of comfort in these new ways, however they are, and we won't know until we get there.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, you know, this is obviously a closing phase, so we'll have the conjunction in February, but the thing with the Aries is that in a sense it's the unlimited potential, you know. So like with this Mars being in a new phase conjunction to the new moon, and it's a new moon, which is again the process of ending and a new beginning. This is saying that the only way to self-empowerment is actually through a free clean slate, because otherwise everything that we are applying into reality is a copy paste of something that was being told to us that this is how it has to be. But does it actually, you know, resonate with you? Is this still that something that actually you value, or it's a part of the story you want to experience? And that's why with this Scorpio, you know, it's like all about us making us like, you know, a lot of us being triggered and feeling disempowered because like a lot of our needs are not being met, but they're not being met because we externalize our power, and we externalize our power because we didn't trust ourselves, so we rely on someone else. And the Scorpio say like, no, if you want to be empowered, you need to become resilient and you need to learn how to do it yourself. So some aspect of yourself has to die. And that's why it's so uncomfortable, because it's difficult to let go of that familiarity of who we were, because even if it's toxic and dysfunctional, like many people who are in, you know, abusive relationships, it's something we get used to. Just like at the very beginning when you mentioned about the way the world is now, and I just wanted to say that yeah, it became normalized. All this
It
that is
became
actually
normalized.
completely dysfunctional and imbalanced, it became normalized. It became the new normal. And with this Mars in the new phase conjunction with New Moon in Scorpio, it's saying, no, this is not going to cut it anymore, because Pluto is in Capricorn and Saturn is in Pisces and Neptune is in Pisces. It's
Yeah.
not going to cut it anymore.
Yep. And because we have a Uranus-Mars opposition, nope.
No,
No.
sorry. But yeah, this story it's finished, and I checked the dates, and actually the Uranus Mars conjunction happened in 2021, and that was the time, and the nodes were still in Sagittarius Gemini. So you know,
Oh, yeah.
so the cycle between Mars and Uranus that is now halfway through, they will have the conjunction next summer. So that's when the cycle will end. But the cycle actually has started. Well, actually, no, it would have been last year. No, sorry, pardon me. It would have been last year. So yes, now I remember. So it was last year, and it was in a new phase conjunction with the North Node. So the North Node was
Yeah.
kind of Taurus. So yes, so this is when it happened. I was confused with something that happened in 2021, which I have so many notes, I don't even know what it was anymore. But the conjunction, the conjunction between Uranus and Mars happened in a new phase conjunction with the North Node. So the straightaway was telling us that there is this shift that was being seeded at the time with regards to our self-worth, our value, our sense of self-reliance and self-sufficiency, because Taurus is all about us being able to trust ourselves that no matter what happens externally, you've got what you need to recreate your reality within you. And that's
Yes.
why I feel that there is all this fear, because that is becoming challenged.
Yes. Yep. I agree. I agree. Well, it's interesting.
Yeah, so I just really like how this Neptune is trying in it. Like this Neptune is like, you know, everything has to end at some point. Just look at the deeper meaning, which
Yep.
of course we don't want to go into the spiritual bypass, but I really feel with this Mercury in Sagittarius now, which is no coincidence. Why Mercury is already in Sagittarius where everybody else is still in Scorpio? You know, I mean, trine in sextile in Venus, right? Like there is no coincidence why these things happen just before. And we had this 11-11 portal just before, because this Neptune is trying to help us to see that, well, this cycle had, like, just exactly like you said, it had a meaning. It had a meaning. It worked for, like, you know, all of us. In obviously depends on people belief systems, but in our previous incarnations, all of us had this experience where we externalize our power, you know, and we were comfortable with it because that's what we wanted to experience. That's what the soul wanted to experience. That's what the source wanted to experience through us. In many cases, even we were the ones that created the system and were, you know, on the other side, you know, on the side of the suppressor. But now all of that is coming to the end, because this is like the source, that something that, you know, is having this experience through us. has the totality of that experience. It's okay, you know, I know what that feels like. It's okay, let's move on now. But because of our physical attachments, you know, again, Taurus, fixation, Scorpio, fixation, our physical attachments and nostalgia to how things were, it takes Uranus. It takes Uranus to crack us open out of that.
Yeah, we're not willingly going to do it, but Uranus will for sure help us to make that move.
Yeah.
And not always in a pleasant way.
No, unfortunately, that is many cases the way, but I always say you choose your timeline. And then, you know, if we are in a situation that we don't particularly enjoy experiencing, then why would my soul chose that? Because nothing happens at random, which again might trigger people. And I know that me being in my cushy little cocoon over here, people like, well, you don't understand. But why would my soul chose that experience? Because everything can happen at any moment for everyone. At any moment for everyone. Like nobody nobody on this physical realm is how would you say, protected from, for example, death. We know we all gonna, you know, transit at some point. Everyone, doesn't matter how much money you have, we all gonna transit. So this is something that is a guarantee, right? So then what happens in between, then, like I said, if we actually realize that I am the creator of my reality, and even if I find myself in a situation I don't enjoy, but for whatever reason I chose it, okay, it gives us so much more power to actually acknowledge that, okay, but I chose it for whatever reason. I don't know why. I need to figure it out. It doesn't make any sense right now, but eventually, and I know that through the interaction I have with my clients, and some of them gone through some very challenging situations in their life, very challenging. But every single time I try, you know, I ask them questions, they always find something that was positive in that situation that led to something else, which they are grateful for. So, you know, that's why I feel with this Uranus, yes, we cannot always predict and we cannot always escape. But then what is that learning in that situation?
Yeah.
Because it is not happening at random.
No, it's not. Definitely not random. What else? I'm gonna look back at my notes.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many notes here. Like,
I know, right?
you know, always this preparation for the eclipses, but obviously I think that a lot of clarity with regards to everything that we are experiencing at the moment will be in springtime, because all these new moons that were so very important for us, like the eclipse, the new moon in Libra, then we had obviously over the you know, summer months, we had the Cancer one, which was very important because that's the day when the nodes shifted. We'll have the full moon
That's right.
just after Christmas. So all these lunations that got seeded after the nodal shift, we will have the totality, we will have the illumination of that experience towards the beginning of the next year. And then as the spring approaches, next spring, because we'll have the lunar eclipse in Libra, and now we know it's all about the eclipses between Libra and Aries from now on, because we already had the last one in Taurus, we got that one out of the way. So with these eclipses that are going to be happening every 6 months, we'll have more and more understanding of what this is about, including this full moon in Scorpio, which will take place right after in April. That will be the first lunation that will happen. Well, I think one of the first lunations that will happen after the eclipses. Yes, because we have the Libra eclipse first, and
Libra.
then the moon in Aries second. So yes, this will be the next one after the Aries one in April, and that's when we really will understand better what is all this about. So I even feel, because there is this in conjunction, between North Node and the North Node and the new moon, there is an in conjunction. So that's why we don't know, we don't see, because
we don't see it yet.
Everything is just being created at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah.
add any
So,
closing thoughts?
yeah, well, I'm just thinking that during this time, this lunation is really asking us to begin to, you know, look underneath the surface, start to bury in, spend some time with yourself, meditating, walking in nature, you know, try to get to a place where there's not a whole lot of, you know, inward coming stuff, so that you can really start to look at, you know, what kinds of fears that you hold, and, you know, maybe talk to somebody close that can help you to bring those things to the surface, so that they can be uncovered. Because I think that these things that are hidden within us, I think that if we can do the work to uncover these things, then we lessen the likelihood of cataclysm, you know, coming along and shattering our worlds for us. We can help the situation by literally doing the work and beginning to uncover and expand our views, and then we can make changes. And that's the North Node. We're going to be needing to make change within ourselves. But we can't do that until we know what changes there are. So here's this lunation helping us to head in that direction.
Absolutely. And now I just remembered what it was that I got tripped up about in the 2021. It was the Mars Sun conjunction. The Mars Sun conjunction, because we'll have the exact conjunction happening on the 18th, few days after. So the Mars Sun conjunction last time happened right after the new moon in Libra.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was it happened on October 8th, 2021. And that's when the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius. And
Right.
because Mars and Sun conjunct only every 2 years, because the Sun, Mars is a little bit slower than the other personal planets.
Yeah.
And to me, it's fascinating that it happened right after the new moon in Libra, and it happened in Libra. Now it's happening in Scorpio. So this is again just reflecting to us how these things that are actually happening right now, they didn't just start now. They didn't just start now. This is something that is like culminate, even though we do have new moons, which again, just like we said, the planets are always just assisting us to see things from a new perspective, but this story is not new. This what's happening now is not new. It started long time ago. But I 100% agree with what you said, and that's, you know, also like what I was trying to imply when I said that, yes, if you focus on the entire world and think about, oh my God, how can how can we fix this mess? Then you're not going to do anything, because you're going to get overwhelmed. But then if you start with yourself, just like you, Adrienne, mentioned that, well, we need to try to cave these moments where you actually have the time to connect with yourself, where you really get to know yourself, because this is the story of your life. Each and every single one of us, stop playing so small, because you are the creator of your life. That experience that you are having, which you are perceiving as your life, nobody else is having that experience. Everyone else is having their own experience, even though we are co-creating this experience on planet Earth. And that's why everybody has their own version of what's going on at any moment, at any time. So that's why if you focus on somebody else's version, somebody else's story, all these stories that are coming from all sorts of places, this is not going to give you any reflection of your story, because your story is yours, you're creating it. So
absolutely.
If we take this time, especially with this new moon in Scorpio, which is very, very introspective, because Scorpio is very intensely intimate, very intensely intimate. And it's inviting us to really start looking within, and to make this time just for you yourself and you, so you can actually find out what is hiding in these depths. So then when this external stimuli comes through other people or news or circumstances, that you know what this means to you. Like, what is
Yes.
this reflecting in you, because everything is your creation. Everything that you are experiencing in your life is your creation, which means that you can always change it. So that's the
Yep.
powerful aspect of it. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you, to help you understand that you can change it at any moment. And yeah, and if you think like, oh well, but you don't understand, and how am I supposed to do that? Well, the key is inside of you, and it's different for everyone.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Yeah. So we just got to dig it up.
Well, I think it's been dug out for us through all these external stimuli and triggers and pokes from the universe. You can dig it yourself if you just sit in a quiet. Perhaps you get a download, or you just go out there and have a conversation with someone, and for sure they're gonna push some buttons for you.
Yeah. Yeah, the trigger is also a way to do it, but eventually you'll see. But the tendency that we have is to blame it outside of ourselves, and instead of to realize that it's really within ourselves. So it can be tricky.
Because that's how we were conditioned. Because
Yes.
it's easier. Because then the responsibility doesn't fall on you, but that means that then you can't change anything, which is
No.
the Capricorn.
This is the
story.
Capricorn piece where we really have to take charge and responsibility for our own selves, our own emotions, and really begin to build resiliency. And we haven't done it before, so
Well,
it's a learning process.
the time is now. New moon in Scorpio.
The time is now. That is it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we made Scorpio proud. I think we
I think we did.
deep.
I think we did.
Yeah, so yeah, so I'm really grateful for this opportunity to get together, Adrienne. As always, please tell you people where can they find you and get in touch.
You can find me on Jess Karen Astrology. I have a Facebook page and I post some stuff there. I also have a Substack account at Jess Karen Astrology. I post my moon reports there, and some other little astrological tidbits and musings. And you can reach me at my email. I do all kinds of readings and astrological consultations. My email is heartplace@peoplepc.com. My website is still in the works. I talked to my website designer earlier today, and our plan is to be launching by the first of the year. So
stay tuned. So I'll put the
tuned.
links for all the existing ones at the moment, and stay tuned for Adrienne's website. And yeah, I highly recommend to get in touch.
Cool, thank you.
Adrienne definitely will give you a very different perspective to what you potentially might have heard from other astrologers.
I'm going to unshare the screen.
Thank you. And yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on all the social media at Moonlight Soul 369 and on my website, moonlightsoul369.com. And thank you again for listening, for tuning in, spending time with us. I hope that this new moon in Scorpio give you the opportunity to see it, whatever intention of self-empowerment you wish to see it. And we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah. Take care,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.